Okay, good morning, everybody. Let's just give everyone a few minutes and then we'll get started. Okay, so we had 80 people register, but I only see 26 so far have joined. So I just want to give one more minute or so to make sure we can capture as many of you as possible. Mm, we are at 29, so I think maybe this is as good as it's gonna get. So thank you for the 29 of you that are here with us today. So we're gonna get this started and going. It will be recorded and posted or on our Columbia Housing YouTube channel. So if your friends, any of them missed it, you don't have to give them all the info. Just send them over to the Columbia Housing YouTube channel. They'll be good. They can just sit and watch. It will be hopefully less than 30 minutes. So we can get started. So hello and welcome to the Rising Junior Room Selection Information Session. We have prepared a thorough presentation that we hope that it answers all of your questions. However, we have reserved some time at the end today of this presentation to make sure that we can address any additional questions you may have. So Menli, Jennifer, Mia, Justin, and I are excited to share how room selection process works with you all. But before we dive into the details, we wanted to run a little poll to see how everybody's doing, how they're feeling, and comfortable about room selection. So let me get that started. And let's see if we can get like 29 answers. That would be great. Okay, they're coming in, they're coming in. So 14 out of 20 are participating right now. Maybe we can get a couple more, 15, one more. Maybe we should play some music around this time right now to see. We'll try that next year, guys, when you're the rising senior class. Okay. It's at 16 now, I'll end it and we can share the results. So, some of you have heard about it. You need some more info. Perfect. I'm glad that you're here. We're going to provide that additional information. Some of you are pretty good. 3 of you not good at all. So, we're here for you guys. We're going to make sure that by the end, you'll be able to know what you need to do. Okay. So let's move on to the agenda. So what are we going to cover and review today? First, we want to just go over a few of the updates that we have for the next academic year. And then during the presentation, we will define what room selection is, share with you the important dates that you need to keep in mind. And also throughout the presentation, we will stress those important points that you need to focus on. And we will keep the presentation like 30 minutes. Let's just short and sweet. We will explain the step-by-step how to register for room selection and how the process actually works, and some tips for planning as well. And then we want to go over the data from previous years and some strategies for you that you can use during the selection time. Lastly, again, we will have some time at the end so we can have some questions and answers. So let's dive into what is new for the academic year 24-25. Blind doubles. Blind double is when a student selects into an empty double and then another student with a later appointment time selects into the remaining half of the double room. So in previous years, it would come at a point in the room selection process when all singles were claimed. At that time, doubles were opened for individuals to pick into a half of the room. While creating additional selection opportunities for students, the blind double process was unfavorable and it had unintended consequences. It required housing to interrupt the room selection process midway to open up these rooms. Then it allowed students with less favorable lottery numbers to pick into spaces not previously open to students who selected earlier in the lottery. It is Columbia's housing's priority to support a fair process in which rooms are selected solely by point value and lottery number. Knowing that the inventory for singles and odd number suites is limited, students, particularly rising juniors and sophomores, are strongly encouraged to form even number groups to improve their chances of selecting a room during their appointment time. Individuals and odd number groups who are unable to select will be added to the guaranteed assignment list. So what is the guaranteed assignment list? The former process was called room selection waitlist, and it has been renamed the guaranteed assignment list to reflect that all students on this list have guaranteed housing status and will be assigned to on-campus housing. Now, what is the group composition update for next year? So groups can only be formed with the students from adjacent classes. So a senior-junior group can be formed or a junior-sophomore group can be formed. This is to ensure fairness in the lottery system. So rising seniors cannot form groups with rising sophomores. So we just wanted to also provide you just an FYI for Wayne Hall and 47 Claremont. Residents should be aware that construction is planned near those buildings. And then for the FSL and SICs, we want to let you know some spaces in these buildings may be available during room selection depending on the size of the community assigned to those buildings. And now let me pass it on to Jennifer to get us started with actually the fun stuff.
Thank you, Lorena. So let's start at the beginning. What is room selection? As you may already know, room selection is the annual process where rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors have the opportunity to select their housing assignment. Many of you have already gone through this process. So again, like last year, you or your designated group leader will select your room assignment for the next academic year. And so how does that happen? First, you must register for room selection. Second, you or your group leader will have the opportunity to choose a room. Please keep in mind that if you're part of a pre-assigned population, such as RAs, residents of SIC, FSL, or have a disability accommodation, you'll not be able to select a room. Instead, your room assignments are predetermined. Remember that the online housing portal is your one-stop shop for registration and room selection. And now we're going to go over some dates that you should keep in mind. So for February 15th through 16th, that's when the pre-assigned students such as RAs, residents of SIC, FSL, or those with a disability accommodation will have the opportunity to register. February 19th through March 1st is registration for room selection for the rest of the population. And March 1st, we added an info session for this year about group selection and strategy information, and we strongly recommend that everybody attends that session. Then March 19th, the lottery numbers will be posted on the housing portal, and March 21st, that's when the appointment times will be posted on the housing portal. And March 27th through April 17th is when room selection begins. Keep in mind that the seniors pick first, so your appointment times will fall after the seniors select. And now I'm going to pass it over to Mia, and she's going to take us through the registration portion of room selection process.
Thank you, Jennifer. So there are 2 registration periods for students. A small portion of the population will register first, and a larger population will register the following week. So the first registration period, as Jennifer mentioned, is reserved for students who already have assignments. So these are RAs that Residential Life selects, those who have applied to live in special interest communities, students living in fraternity and sorority housing, and then finally those students who have disability accommodations. These students will already have their assignments. So although these groups will already have their assignments, registration is still required, and registration for these groups will be February 15th and 16th. For these groups, registration will be from the beginning of the application with signing the statement of intent all the way through the occupancy agreement confirming their housing assignment. So this slide reiterates that even for this population, if you don't register, you may lose your guaranteed housing. So majority of the population will be registering for room selection starting on February 19th. Registration will close on March 1st. So students have 2 weeks to register. And again, this is required. Some students may already know that they will be living off campus or taking some type of leave of absence. And that's okay. Although you won't be living on campus with us, your registration is still required as well. And you can indicate your housing intentions in your registration. So registration is only considered completed once you sign the statement of intent. And if we didn't say it enough, if you don't register, you may lose your guaranteed housing. So for registration, you can register for room selection as either an individual or as part of a group. For all students, we highly encourage forming a group that is even numbered. Group formation occurs during the registration process. So one student will create the group with a group name and password and share it with the rest of the group. Other students join the group upon registering. Once all group members have joined, the group leader selected must verify the group. If a group is unverified, it will not be able to go through room selection as part of a group. Just one note on group names. It's important that group names remain appropriate and do not contain special characters so that the system can process it for room selection. For group formations, you can choose to form a group with students from an adjacent class standing, and this would be called a mixed point group. So to group or not to group. So many students really want to know whether they should form a group, and if they do, what the benefits are. Well, being a part of a group gives you more options. If you're an individual, for example, you cannot select into a suite like a group can. With options, though, there are some guidelines. Groups must fill the room or suite to capacity. So if you're a group of 4, for example, you can't select into a suite with 5 spaces. Groups, however, can split across different rooms, floors, and even buildings during their selection time. For example, if you're a group of 10, you can select into 5 double rooms or 10 corridor singles if available at the time of selection. And again, for juniors, we really recommend that you all form even numbered groups. So when you're considering room selection groups, it's really important that you look at our portfolios and explore the buildings, because there are some buildings in housing that appear as suites on floor plans, but are not suites in room selection and therefore do not need to be filled. So that's 600 West 113 in Carlton Arms. So now I'm going to pass things over to Justin, who will now discuss some pre-registration planning.
All right, so leading up to room selection registration, you need to have that conversation with yourself and your friends about whether you want to sign up as an individual or as a group. If you're looking at joining as part of a group, we do have a group selection page on our website, so make sure to check that out. Um, we do recommend having this conversation just because it is typically during the time that juniors select that we run out of corridor singles, and that's data that my colleague Menley will go over later. So it is recommended to join as part of a group, again, as Mia was saying, because it gives you more options. And if you're joining as part of a group, have those conversations around group size, identify who the group leader is, and then review the group member responsibilities. And just to kind of break down what that looks like in terms of, a group leader versus a group member. A group leader is one of the most important people in your group, obviously, because they're the one that will create the group name, create the password. Again, please keep it appropriate as we reserve the right to change the name of the group if it is deemed inappropriate. They will need to share the login information with the rest of the group members and, more importantly, verify the group. Group members and the group leader are unable to sign the statement of intent unless the group has been verified. So please make sure that that step is completed by the leader. Naturally, sign the statement of intent and then discuss and agree on the selection strategy for the group leader, because it is the group leader who will select all beds for all group members. So make sure this is someone that you trust, that you have confidence in to carry out the strategy that the group has discussed. Now, as a group member, it's much simpler. You register as a member of the group, then you sign the statement of intent after the group has been verified, and then, as part of the group, just discuss and agree on the selection strategy. After this, there is nothing else for you to do because, again, it is the group leader who will make the decisions as to which rooms are selected and who will be placed into which beds. So now let's take a look at what all this means in the portal. You will use the same portal that you've used for last year's room selection for your application when you first came to Columbia. On the appropriate days, you'll see the room selection application appear on the portal. And essentially, you're going to go over the same steps you have before. Your personal and contact details just to make sure we have the correct information. Choosing a dining plan for the next academic year. Not required, but it's a really easy process to include it as part of your room selection application, as well as the dining promotion. And then everybody will land on this page, which is essentially where you have to decide if you are participating in room selection or not participating in room selection. For those that are living off campus, studying abroad, taking a leave of some kind, you will select not participate in room selection so that you can finish filling out the application and sign the statement of intent. A majority of the students, though, will participate in room selection. So you will select participate in room selection and hit save and continue to then move on to the rest of the process. You will land on the group formation page. For group leaders, this is where you will go and create the group. You'll be able to see members that are in the group and verify as well. For group members, you'll be able to join a group, see the group members, and if you're participating as an individual, you will just hit save and continue. After that has been completed, you will continue with the rest of the process. You'll sign the statement of intent. We do have a survey in the application, and that's just because we're trying to gauge, how easy is the application? Was everyone able to navigate the group formation process? So please make sure to leave your comments in that survey. And you are not done registering for room selection until you land on this page. So make sure that you see this page and receive the email, the automated email saying that you have completed the process to sign up for room selection. Because if you have not seen this, then you have not finished the process. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Menley to discuss getting to your appointment.
Thanks, Justin. Next, we'll talk about point values, lottery numbers, and appointment times, and go over how they all work together. These are really important concepts for room selection at Columbia. Most of you know this because you've gone through this before. And if you're new to this, we'll make it easy. So first and foremost, congratulations on no longer being the little cubs on campus. As rising juniors, you'll get a 30-point value. And what a point value is a point value determines what range in which your lottery number will come from. So we'll talk about how that works. You don't need to do anything to get a point value, as it's based on your class standing. So in terms of lottery numbers, your lottery numbers are randomly generated. Everyone has an equal chance to get the first lottery number within their class or the last. So as you would expect with the lottery, it is random. There's nothing that you can really do to sort of increase your chances at getting the first number or not getting the last number, whatever the case may be. That is a question that comes up all the time. But for juniors, what's really important is to know that your range is 2001 to 3000. So the first number in the rising junior class to select will be 2001, and the last in your class will be 3000. Before we get to appointment times, really quickly want to go ahead and dive a little bit into mixed groups, which Mia mentioned earlier. So a mixed group is pretty much what it sounds like. It's when you have folks from adjacent classes come together. So in this example, we have a rising junior who partners with a friend who is a rising senior. And this group's point value, the mixed group's point value average is what determines where they'll select. So in this case, you have a 30 and a 40. That becomes 35, and they pick after the seniors, but before the rest of the junior class. So they have their own special ranges. So the mixed point group for seniors, juniors would pick between 1001 and 2000. As juniors, you have the special privilege of either going and mixing up or mixing down. Just keep in mind, again, seniors and sophomores can't be in the same group, so that means there won't be any junior, senior, sophomore groups. Next, your appointment times. Appointment times are determined by your lottery number. So whatever lottery number you have, that'll be converted into the time that you can first go into the portal. You or your group leader can go into the portal to make your selections for the academic year. So keep in mind that appointment times will begin on March 27th. Appointment times will start each day at 8 a.m. They will end at 6 p.m. And there will be no appointment times on weekends or holidays. So in summary, the too long didn't read for this is essentially point values influence lottery numbers determine appointment times. So keep in mind that the higher your point value, the better your lottery number will be. The better your lottery number, the earlier your appointment time. Next, I'll go ahead and hand it over to my colleague Lorena so she can talk to you about some pre-selection planning.
Thank you, Manley. So how do we suggest you prepare for your appointment? First, you should explore our residences. We have meticulously reviewed the building pages in our Columbia Housing website to make sure that all the information is up to date for you to review. If you choose to be part of a group, make sure that you know that the group requires to designate a group leader, like we've mentioned before, and that group leader is responsible to create and verify the group. We just want to remind you one last time that group leaders will be the ones assigning beds to all the members of the group. So choose your group leader wisely. After appointment times are posted, a group leader may find that they will not be available during their appointment time. So when this happens, the group leader can designate another member of the team to be the group leader and make sure everything is verified in the housing portal. We also suggest you prepare multiple housing options and that you follow the room selection process as it gets closer to your appointment time. This will allow you to know what options are available that meet your goals as best possible. Lastly, have those hard conversations now. So what if the buildings that you were hoping for are no longer available? Or what if the buildings only have room for a few of you and not the entire group? So have those conversations now. Create the plans A, B, and C, and D. So that way it's easier for you to make a decision when your appointment times comes. Now let's go back to Justin to review the process in the housing portal.
All right, so on March 19th and 21st is when we'll be posting the lottery numbers and appointment times respectively. And what you will be able to do is return to the room selection registration summary page to see that information. This is the page you will go to in order to begin the room selection process. If you try to hit save and continue before your appointment time, unfortunately, it will not allow you into the system. So you can try it, it won't be successful. When it is your time, you will land on the selection portal, which is the image on the right. What you see in this is a breakdown of buildings and room suite styles on the left-hand side, and you'll be able to see the actual rooms that you are selecting on the right-hand side. So for example, 610A1 with 2 beds, 10A2 with 1 bed, etc. What's important here is that you will not be able to select into a space that you cannot fill. So if you are participating as an individual, you will only see corridor style singles. If you decide to participate as an individual and we run out of corridor style singles, then unfortunately, when you log into the system, you will not see anything. You will have to wait until the guaranteed assignment list is open so that then you can submit your building preferences. Now, just to kind of take a look at this really quick though, for groups, you're presented with an option of exact match and flexible match. And so we just wanted to break down what that means. For an exact match, it's a very fast way for the leader to choose a suite for the entire group, meaning that in this example, if you're a group of 6, you're eyeing 6-person suites. If you choose exact match, then you'll go into the system and only see 6-person suites that your group is able to fill. It will not show you all options that your group can select, meaning that it will not show you the corridor singles, corridor doubles, in case you're talking about breaking the group up. So in this case, if you're looking at that option, then you want to choose flexible match because it will provide you with all options that your group is able to fill. So you will be able to see corridor singles, corridor doubles, 2 to 6-person suites. Naturally, you will not see 7-person suites or larger because your group is unable to fill that. So what happens when you've selected your rooms? Well, after you have to go to the step called assign room, and this is where the individuals or group leaders will actually place people into their individual beds. Again, it's important to trust that group leader so that they partner people together that have agreed to be roommates in the event of being placed in a double. And this is why we highly recommend even numbered groups, so that then in the event that there are no corridor style singles available, you're able to room with people that you know. Once you have assigned rooms, you will land on this page called room selection completed. That means that you have completed the room selection process, but guess what? You are not 100% done. Securing the room isn't enough. Make sure you sign the occupancy agreement. Even if you selected a room, if you have not signed the occupancy agreement, you will be in jeopardy of losing your assignment and guaranteed housing if you do not sign the occupancy agreement by the deadline. Naturally, during this entire process, we will still use the live viewer that will be linked on the housing website. So make sure to track the live viewer so that you can watch as groups and individuals are selecting, so that when your time is approaching, you're able to have a very specific set of options for your group, so you're able to go into the portal and select quickly. Now, just to talk a little bit about the guaranteed assignment list, sort of what is it, what does it do? It's an assignment list for students who are unable to select a room during room selection. The difference now is that this is an automatic list, meaning that you do not have to sign up to be on the guaranteed assignment list, like in the past with the wait list. We do ask you to still go into the page to confirm your building preferences, because we will take that into consideration as we begin making assignments for students on the guaranteed assignment list. And just a reminder, you are guaranteed housing and will receive an assignment over the summer, typically by late July. Ending up on this list does not mean your guaranteed status is in jeopardy, and you will receive an assignment. Now I'm going to pass it back to my colleague Minley to discuss the data.
Thanks, Justin. Now we can go ahead and dive into why everyone's really here. Let's take a look at what exactly Rising Juniors did last year. Pro tip, set your expectations accordingly. Life as a junior means you have a 50-50 chance about to live in a single or a double. So some of you, well, most of you, because you're rising sophomores, are probably in doubles right now, because over 90% of your class went into doubles for this academic year. Half of you will go back into doubles and the other half will not. You have a good chance of going into either, so just keep that in mind. And if you are lucky enough to get a single, also keep in mind that not all singles are the same. Here we see the top 5 buildings for juniors last year. 2/3 of the class went into corridor style buildings. So if you do get a single, it is very likely it'll be within a corridor style building. And over 75% of the class went into corridor style buildings in general. So if you get a single or a double, you're probably living in a corridor style building. So keep that in mind. So in other words, if you really want a single within a suite, it is highly unlikely. Next, let's take a look at how people organize their groups. We've talked a bit about even number groups. We continue to press people to organize themselves within even number groups. Here you'll see the group makeup for the class last year. One of the things that's really important about this slide is the individual, and the odd number groups. I made them really funky colors just because of what Justin mentioned earlier. During your class is the point every year where we run out of corridor style singles, which means that those 19% of people, depending on where the lottery number are, some of them won't be able to select. Because if you go in as an individual, the only space that you can fill is a corridor style single. That means no singles within suites. So if there are no more corridor style singles, you officially earn yourself a spot on the guaranteed assignments list. And for the odd number groups, if there are no more odd configuration suites, then you as well would not be able to pick. So again, we recommend forming an even numbered group. So next we'll talk about selection strategies. Basically, we pull together everything that we've just covered. A really, really important point to keep in mind is that there's a difference between the best number, which decides when you're going to pick. Again, the best number in the junior class will be 2001. That's the first number to go. That doesn't mean it'll be the best options for you. Your best options are determined by the inventory that's available, your group's configuration, and your preferences. So let's take a look at this group of 6 and how they decided to split themselves up. So in this group of 6, some people wanted singles, some people wanted doubles. And let's say they had the best number of 2001. Someone got a Broadway single, someone got a Shapiro single, and the other people went into a Carlton double and a Watt double. And we'll just assume that these are some of the biggest rooms that were available at the time. So for this group, this worked. Now, if this group of 6 was an individual, they wouldn't have had the option to go into a Carlton double, a Watt double, anything like that. They would have only been able to fill a corridor style single. So keep in mind, again, it's really important to have that discussion early on. What's important to you, what's important to your group, and where do you want to land? Next, I'll hand it back over to my colleague, Lorena, to go ahead and see how we feel right now.
Yes, thank you, Manley. So let's see, now there's 33 of us here. So let's see how we're doing in terms of how we feel about room selection now. So let's go back and start the other poll. Let's see. All right, 70% have replied. So let's end it now and see. Okay, this is a really good number. Everyone's feeling a little bit more like confident about it. A few of you are feeling great and a pro. That's amazing. So that it's just good. But let's continue and see if we can review a couple other things while we still have you here. So I'm gonna pass it on to Jen to go over some additional information.
Thank you, Lorena. So all of the dates that we mentioned today are important, but here are a few more dates to be mindful of. So the summer housing applications will be available on the housing portal starting on February 13th. And for checkout, you must check out of your housing assignment by May 11th or 24 hours after your last final exam. And then finally, some students living with us on campus during summer session 1 can check in starting May 19th. And then we also want to make sure that you're aware of some additional room selection resources. So for more information and tips, you can head to our website under current student. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Columbia Housing for more FAQs, tips, date reminders, and more. Additionally, you can find useful videos showcasing some of our buildings, an overview of the room selection process, and more on our official YouTube channel at Columbia Undergraduate Housing.
Thank you, Jennifer. So now let's go to the Q&A. So we have already a question up there that Justin is answering, but hopefully maybe Manley can take this question.
Sure, let's see. Anonymous attendee, should we select the group leader with the best lottery numbers since they will have an earlier selection time? When do numbers come out? And when is the last day to register as a group? Great question. Should you select the group leader with the best lottery number? If you're lucky enough to do so, I would suggest you do that. Only problem is lottery numbers come out after you formed your groups, so you don't know when who will have the best lottery number or who that person will be. So our advice, form an even number group with your friends. And then maybe you'll get lucky and you'll have the best lottery number within your group.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, the group is assigned the same lottery number. So it's not a situation where everyone in the group gets an individual number and then just the person with the lowest lottery number selects for the group. As Minley was saying, you register as a group before we post the lottery numbers and appointment times. Everyone in the group will get the same lottery number.
I also wanted to mention that we have Ali and Priya here, some of the student leaders, and they have, I know Priya has a little bit of information about some building tours, so maybe just want to give them the opportunity to provide some information also from, the student perspective about how to best approach room selection.
Yeah, we actually only do building tours for mostly sophomore dorms. So you guys will be out of those by next year. But something that my friends and I do sometimes is that we'll honestly just like tour the buildings ourselves because you all have access to all of them. And not that I mean, like some people are really nice. If you'll see someone like in the hallway, you can be like, oh, can I get like a glance at your room? And usually people will say yes if you're like nice about it. But also you can see like the building amenities and such. So I would definitely just recommend trying to like go through the housing website and look at all the pages for all of the dorms and see what your options are, what kind of amenities you're looking for. If you like want a kitchen or if you want to make sure that your building has like a gym in it. Those are definitely things to keep in mind.
I see there's another question about if everyone in the group has to fill up a suite. Justin, you want to take that one live? I see you're typing it up now.
Yeah, so you are able, so let's say you're in a 10-person group, there are two 5-person suites available that you would like to take. You're perfectly able to do that. It's not where everyone has to be in the same suite, it's that you have to be able to fill the suite. So if you have a 10-person group and you decide, okay, we want this 5-person suite, and then these 5 people want to be in Shapiro and corridor style singles, you're able to do that. You do not have to only pick suites or only pick corridor style rooms. You have, essentially the available rooms at your disposal. You just have to be able to fill the rooms and suites.
Well, since we're waiting for more questions to come in, I have a question for Ali and Priya. Where do you all live and how do you like your rooms?
So
Um,
I live in East, oh, sorry. I live in East Campus, in a double. I'm a big fan of it. It has a really good view, which is nice. I also think like the dorms are nice in terms of like there's a decent kitchen and like a pretty big living room. And then before I lived in East Campus, I lived in the 7-persons Claremont Suites, which I also really, really loved. The kitchen is very narrow as a warning. And so is the hallway. So like the public space is like really not there so much, but the rooms are very nice. Like, the windows are nice. There's one small single, but in general, I think it's a good choice if especially if you like are very if you feel strong about having a kitchen, which is why I chose it.
Yeah, last year I lived in Nuss, which was really great because the kitchen in there, it is shared among your suite, but it is quite nice. It's pretty spacious kitchen, so it's really easy to like cook in there. And I lived in a double, so that was also pretty nice. And then this year I live in Watt, which is, I feel like a lot of juniors try to go for Watt. So I feel like this is definitely a great option, especially if you're like, for example, living in McBain or something and you really like your roommate, then I think that Watt is a great place to go next because you have your own kitchen. I will warn people that like the kitchens are quite small. It's more like a quick kitchenette. So your counter space is a little bit more limited. But it's still a pretty nice place to live, and you have your own bathroom, which is really nice. I like to describe it as like a little like studio apartment. So I think it's a pretty good place to live, definitely.
Just a note, as a junior to get in a Watt, you probably had a really good lottery number, a great lottery number.
Yeah, I actually, my roommate and I think we filled the second to last room in Watt. So we got very lucky.
Okay, well, I think I don't see any more questions in the chat. And then I think I see some people have left already. So I think we pretty much answered or did the best that we could. This will be again recorded and posted on the YouTube channel. And if there are any other questions, please email us at housing@columbia.edu. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.